The alien marketplace was alive with noise. Bright lights flickered over stalls that sold fruits glowing like fire, metals shining like stars, and strange liquids bubbling in glass jars. Merchants shouted in rough voices, their alien tongues mixing with the hum of machines and footsteps. People pushed and pulled, fighting for bargains. Smells of spice, oil, and smoke floated in the air. In the middle of all this chaos stood a little alien girl. Her small hands clutched a bundle of broken toys, tiny wooden animals, a cracked music box, and a stuffed doll with one eye missing. Her clothes were worn and covered with dirt. She was not like the other children who laughed and ran through the streets. She looked pale, tired, and hungry. "Please," she whispered, holding the toys up high. "Please buy my toys. I need money." No one stopped. The crowd walked past her as if she were invisible. A tall alien with shiny armor pushed her aside. A merchant scoffed, "Your junk is useless, girl. Get out of the way," but she did not give up. She moved from stall to stall, begging, "Take my toys, please." "Just a little money. My mother is sick. I need medicine for her." Her voice cracked with desperation, yet the crowd remained cold. Near the corner of the marketplace, a human traveler paused. He was taller than most around him, dressed in a simple jacket with a worn satchel over his shoulder. His eyes scanned the busy street, but then they stopped on the girl. Something in her voice made him listen closer. The human watched as she tried again. She reached out to a wealthy alien noble carrying bags of golden fruit. "Please, sir, just one coin for this toy. My mother, she cannot breathe well." The noble sneered and waved her off. "Go away, little beggar." He shoved her aside and the girl almost fell. The human's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, his boots crunching against the dusty ground. "Why are you selling those toys?" the human asked, his voice calm but firm. The girl looked up, surprised that someone finally noticed her. Her large alien eyes glowed faintly under the neon lights. I must buy medicine. My mother is dying. No one will help me." She held out her last doll, its fabric torn but still showing care. "Please, human, take it. I will give you a low price." The human stared at the toy in her trembling hand. It was worthless, just scraps of fabric and wood. Yet her voice carried truth, or maybe only desperation. His thoughts raced. Was this a trick? Many in the marketplace lied for easy money. He folded his arms. "Where is your mother?" The girl froze, clutching the doll to her chest as if he might steal it. Her lip trembled. "She is waiting. She cannot walk. If I don't bring the medicine soon." Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "Please, just take this toy." The human remained silent. He studied her face. Dirt streaked across her cheeks and her eyes showed no greed, only fear and hope. Still, doubt gnawed at him. Behind them, voices rose. Two alien merchants laughed. "Look at her," one said, "always telling the same story. No one believes her anymore." The other added, "If her mother is really sick, she should let her die. Cheaper that way." They laughed louder. The girl's shoulders shook, but she stood firm. She turned back to the human, whispering, "I am not lying. I swear. My toys are all I have." The human's heart tugged, but his mind warned him of danger. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a single coin. Small, almost worthless to him, but valuable to her. He dropped it into her tiny hand. Her eyes widened in shock. You believe me?" "Not yet," the human said softly. "But I will find out." Before the girl could speak, he nodded and stepped back into the crowd, pretending to leave. But his eyes stayed fixed on her. He watched as she clutched the coin tightly and ran, not to a sweet shop, not to a game stall, but toward the dark alleys beyond the marketplace. The human followed at a distance, weaving through the crowd. His steps were careful, silent. He needed to know if her story was real, or just another lie. The marketplace noise faded behind him. Shadows grew deeper as he entered the narrow alleyways. The air smelled of damp metal and decay. The girl hurried ahead, her small figure vanishing around a corner. The human's heartbeat quickened. Somewhere in the darkness, he would discover the truth. And as he turned the corner, he saw her kneeling beside a weak figure lying on the cold ground. A woman, pale and trembling, coughing hard. The girl placed the coin beside her and whispered, "Mama, I will get more soon. I promise." The human froze in the shadows. His doubts vanished. The girl had spoken the truth, but he also knew this was only the beginning. The alley was silent except for the weak coughs of the alien woman lying on the ground. Her skin was pale, her chest rose and fell with great effort. The little girl knelt beside her. gently wiping her mother's forehead with the edge of her sleeve. The human stood in the shadows, his breath slow and heavy. He had followed her expecting to catch a trick, some hidden scam. But what he saw was no trick. It was suffering, raw, painful, and real. The girl whispered, "Mama, I got 1 coin. 1 coin only. I will sell the rest tomorrow." The woman forced a weak smile. "You tried, my child. That is enough." She reached out with a trembling hand and touched her daughter's cheek. "Do not cry. I will be fine." But even the human could see the lie in her eyes. She was not fine. Without medicine, she would not last many more nights. The girl held the doll tightly and whispered, "I will find more buyers. I will not give up." The human stepped forward. The sound of his boots echoed in the narrow alley. The girl spun around, startled, her big alien eyes widening in fear. She quickly hid the coin in her pocket and shielded her mother with her small body. "Don't hurt us," she shouted. The human raised his hand slowly. "I won't hurt you." She hesitated, her lip trembling. "Then why did you follow me?" "To see the truth," he answered. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "And I see it now. You were not lying." The girl's shoulders relaxed, but only slightly. "Then will you buy my toys?" The human looked at the broken doll in her hand. He shook his head. "Your toys are not what I need." Her eyes filled with tears again. "But I must sell them. No one will give me money without trade. Please, human, please take this doll. Even 1 more coin can help." The human crouched down to her level. He studied her face, the way she clutched the toy like it was the most valuable treasure in the universe. "Tell me," he asked, "how much does the medicine cost?" The girl lowered her gaze. Her voice was barely a whisper. 10 coins, the human frowned. 10 coins was not much for him. But in this alien city, medicine was often sold at unfair prices. Merchants cheated the poor without shame. Still, 10 coins meant nothing compared to the weight of her mother's life. He reached into his pocket and counted. He had only 7 coins left after weeks of traveling. Those coins were meant for his own supplies, food, water, shelter. Without them, his journey would grow dangerous. He closed his fist tightly. A voice inside warned him, "Do not get involved. This is not your problem. You have your own path, your own battles." But another voice whispered louder, "If you walk away, she dies. And the child, she will break." The girl interrupted his thoughts. "Human, why are you quiet? Do you not believe me still?" He met her eyes. "I believe you," she blinked in surprise. "Then you will help?" The human did not answer right away. He glanced at the sick woman, coughing harder now. Her breath sounded like stones scraping against metal. Time was short. Finally, he sighed. "Where is the medicine sold?" The girl's face lit up with a fragile hope. "At the red stall in the marketplace. But the merchant there hates me. He says my family is worthless." The human stood tall again. "Show me." The girl hesitated. "Will you really come with me?" "Yes," he said firmly. "But listen, if this is a trick, if you lead me into danger, I will not be kind." His eyes narrowed. The girl quickly shook her head. "No, I would never. I swear on my mother's life." She gently touched her mother's hand. "Stay strong, Mama. I will bring the medicine soon." The human watched as the girl kissed her mother's forehead and then stood, clutching her broken toys in one arm. She led him back into the twisting streets. As they returned to the noisy marketplace, the human's doubt still lingered. He had seen kindness used as a weapon before. He had seen beggars lure strangers into traps. Could this child be different? The girl ran ahead, weaving through the crowd with surprising speed. The human followed close behind. His eyes scanned the stalls and the faces of merchants ready for any sign of betrayal. Finally, the girl stopped in front of a stall covered in red cloth. The merchant was a fat alien with 3 arms, gold rings on every finger. His sharp teeth glistened as he laughed at a group of customers. The girl stepped forward bravely. "Please, sir, I have 1 coin. Can you sell me just a little medicine? My mother is worse today." The merchant scowled. "You again? How many times must I tell you, go away? Your family cannot pay." The girl held up her doll. "Then take this too." "It is all I have." The merchant burst into laughter. "That garbage? Worthless." He snatched the doll from her hand and threw it to the ground, tearing 1 more stitch in its fabric. The girl gasped, her eyes filling with tears. Before she could bend to pick it up, the human stepped forward. His shadow fell across the stall. His voice was cold, steady. "Sell her the medicine," he said, "or deal with me." The marketplace grew quiet. All eyes turned toward the human and the trembling little girl at his side. The red stall fell into silence. The fat alien merchant leaned back, his 3 arms folding across his chest. His golden ring sparkled under the market lights as he stared at the human who now stood before him. "And who are you?" the merchant sneered. "To order me in my own marketplace?" The human's eyes narrowed. "A man who doesn't like seeing children crushed under greed." His voice carried like steel, firm and sharp. The little alien girl stood frozen beside him. Her doll lay on the ground, its torn body covered with dust. She bent down, trembling, and picked it up, pressing it against her chest. The other merchants around began to whisper, curious at the sight of a human defending a beggar child. The fat merchant laughed loudly. "You think you can scare me, human? Do you know how many like you pass through here? You have no power. This is my stall, my rules." The human stepped closer. "Your rules end where cruelty begins. Sell her the medicine." The merchant's smile faded slightly, but pride kept him standing tall. 10 coins. "Not one less," the girl gasped. 10, but you always said 3 before." The merchant shrugged, his lips curling. "Prices change when fools bring outsiders to argue. 10 coins or nothing." The human clenched his jaw. He knew it was robbery. The medicine was worth far less, but this man enjoyed crushing hope. He reached into his pocket, feeling the weight of his 7 coins. It wasn't enough. The girl tugged at his sleeve. "Human, don't. He is lying. He will never sell to me. Please don't waste your money." Her voice cracked, full of pain. The merchant sneered at her. "That's right, little pest. I never wanted your filthy money. Let your mother rot. It's less trouble for the city." The word stabbed through the girl's heart. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She pressed the doll tighter against herself as if it could protect her from the cruelty of the world. The human's fists clenched. He could not strike the merchant here, not in the middle of the crowd. But he also could not let the girl return empty-handed. He bent down, his voice low so only she could hear. "Show me where your mother stays." The girl blinked at him, confused. "Why?" "The medicine. We will find another way," he said firmly. She looked at him, her eyes filled with both fear and hope. For a moment she hesitated, then nodded slowly. The human straightened, glaring at the merchant one last time. "Your greed will destroy you," he said coldly. Then he turned away, guiding the girl back through the busy market. As they walked, whispers followed them. Some aliens laughed, mocking the human for helping a beggar. Others murmured with unease. Few had ever seen a human defend a child like that. The girl walked silently, clutching her broken doll. Her steps were quick, almost desperate, as if afraid the human would change his mind and leave her behind. Finally, they reached the dark alleys again. The girl rushed ahead and dropped to her knees beside her mother. The woman's coughing had grown worse. Her lips were pale and sweat covered her face. "Mama, I'm sorry," the girl sobbed. "I tried again. They laughed at me. They broke my toy." She held up the doll with shaking hands. The mother weakly brushed her fingers against the doll, her eyes soft with sadness. "You tried, little one. That is enough. Do not cry." The human stepped closer, kneeling beside them. He studied the woman carefully. She was thin, her breath shallow. He could see the sickness in her lungs, an illness humans had medicine for. But here, among aliens, it was treated as rare and costly. The girl looked at him with wet eyes. "Now you see, human. I wasn't lying. She really is dying." The human placed a hand on the ground beside her. His voice was quiet. "I know." Silence hung heavy in the alley. The girl lowered her head, ashamed. "I only wanted someone to believe me. No one ever does. They all think I lie for food. But Mama is all I have." The human's chest tightened. He had seen children like her before in war-torn colonies where the weak were forgotten. He had turned away once long ago, and he still carried that regret. This time, he would not turn away. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a small metal case. The girl gasped as he opened it, revealing strange vials of liquid. Human medicine, basic supplies he carried for emergencies. Her voice trembled. Is that for her?" The human nodded. "Yes, but it may not be enough. She needs rest, warmth, and food as well." The girl's hands shook as she pressed them together. "Please, human, please save her." The mother tried to speak, her voice weak. "Stranger, don't waste your supplies. Save them for your own kind." The human shook his head. "No, life is life, And no child should watch her mother die while the world laughs. Carefully, he leaned over and pressed the medicine against her lips. The woman coughed, then swallowed. Her breathing steadied, though still weak. The girl gasped with joy, clutching her mother's hand tightly. She will need more doses, the human said, but this will help her breathe easier for now. Tears rolled down the girl's cheeks. You are not like the others. You are kind. The human stood, scanning the alley. But even as relief filled the girl's face, unease grew in his chest. The marketplace was full of eyes, and the merchant he had angered would not let this pass quietly. For now he had earned the child's trust. But danger was already closing in. The narrow alley was quiet, broken only by the mother's shallow breaths. The little alien girl held her mother's hand tightly, whispering words of comfort. The human stood nearby, scanning the shadows. He knew the medicine he had given was only a temporary relief. Without more, the woman would not survive. The girl looked up at him with pleading eyes. Human, will she live? He hesitated before answering. For now, yes. But she needs stronger medicine, the kind I cannot give. She needs proper care. The girl's small shoulders slumped. I tried so many times. No one will help us. She clutched her broken doll as if it could protect her from the cruel world. Before the human could respond, a voice slithered from the darkness. Well, what do we have here? Both the human and the girl turned quickly. A tall alien stepped out of the shadows. His skin was gray and rough. His yellow eyes glowed faintly under the dim light. His long coat dragged across the ground, and in one hand he twirled a thin knife with casual ease. Behind him, two smaller figures followed, their faces hidden under hoods. The girl gasped. It's him. The human's eyes hardened. You know this one? The girl nodded quickly. Yes, he sells fake medicine. He tricked me once before. I gave him a coin, and what he gave made Mama worse. The tall alien grinned, revealing sharp teeth. Harsh words, little one. I only sell what people can afford. His eyes shifted to the human. And you? A stranger helping beggars? Dangerous hobby. The human stepped forward, placing himself between the dealer and the child. Leave them alone. The dealer tilted his head, amused. So noble. So foolish. He pointed the knife lazily at the girl. You want your mama to live, don't you? I can give you the medicine she needs. Real medicine. Strong medicine, but nothing is free. The girl's eyes widened with desperate hope. Is it true? Real medicine? The dealer smirked. Of course. I can give it tonight, but... His voice turned cold. You must give me something worth more than coins. Something you cannot replace. The human's hand instinctively went to the knife strapped at his belt. What do you mean? The dealer ignored him, focusing on the girl. Those toys you carry, worthless. But you are young, strong. You could work for me. Run errands, deliver packages, do as I say. In exchange, your mother lives. The girl took a step back, fear flooding her face. No, I won't. The human's voice was like iron. She won't. The dealer chuckled darkly. Then maybe you can pay, stranger. I hear humans are worth a lot on the black market. One word from me and hunters will chase you across the stars. The human's eyes narrowed. His muscles tensed. He had dealt with scum like this before, men who thrived on suffering. They preyed on the weak, twisting hope into chains. You will not touch her, the human said firmly. The dealer leaned closer, his yellow eyes gleaming. Then tell me, human, how will you save them? You don't have the coins. You don't have the medicine. You only have your pride. Pride does not heal sickness. The little girl clung to the human's sleeve, whispering through trembling lips. Don't listen to him. He lies. The human placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I know. The dealer's grin faded into a sneer. Fine, be heroes then. But remember, heroes die poor. He snapped his fingers, and his two hooded companions stepped forward, blocking the alley's exit. The human's hand moved to his knife. Stay behind me, he told the girl. Her eyes widened with fear. But there are 3 of them. He gave her a quick glance. Then they should have brought more. The dealer laughed, though there was no humor in the sound. You'll regret that arrogance, human. One of the hooded figures lunged, swinging a heavy club. The human sidestepped quickly, grabbing the attacker's arm and twisting it sharply. The club clattered to the ground as the figure screamed. The second one rushed forward, but the human kicked him hard in the chest, sending him crashing against the wall. The dealer's grin faltered, his knife glinting as he raised it. The girl pressed her broken doll against her chest, whispering prayers under her breath. Her mother stirred weakly, coughing harder from the stress of the fight. The human and the dealer circled each other, eyes locked. The dealer slashed with his knife, fast and sharp. The human dodged, the blade slicing the air inches from his face. He countered with a punch, striking the dealer's jaw. The dealer stumbled but did not fall. His eyes burned with rage. "You'll pay for that." He lunged again, this time aiming for the girl. The human reacted instantly, shoving the girl aside and catching the dealer's wrist mid-strike. Their struggle was fierce, muscles straining, the knife inching closer to the human's throat. With a sudden burst of strength, the human twisted the dealer's arm and slammed him against the wall. The knife clattered to the ground. The two hooded companions, still groaning in pain, scrambled to their feet. They grabbed the dealer, dragging him back into the shadows. The dealer spat, his yellow eyes glowing with hatred. "This isn't over, human. You've made an enemy tonight, and enemies remember." Then they vanished into the darkness, leaving silence behind. The girl rushed to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, it's over. The bad man is gone." The human wiped sweat from his brow, his chest heaving. He crouched beside them, his voice steady. "He will come back. We must be ready." The girl clung to her doll, nodding quickly. "But you will protect us, won't you?" The human met her eyes. There was no hesitation in his answer. "Yes, I will." But deep inside, he knew their struggle had only just begun. The night air in the alley was heavy, filled with the faint stench of smoke drifting from the market fires. The little alien girl sat beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. Her broken doll rested in her lap, its one eye staring at the stars above. The human stood nearby, his jaw clenched, his mind restless. He had driven away the dealer and his thugs, but he knew it would not last. Enemies like that always returned, stronger and angrier. And worse, the mother's illness was still eating her life away. The girl looked up at him, her voice trembling. "Human, what do we do now? Without medicine, Mama..." She could not finish the sentence. Her tears fell silently, soaking into the dirt. The human crouched down, meeting her eyes. "Listen to me. Your mother is still alive. That means there is still hope. But we need more than what I carry." Her small hands clutched the doll. "Then how? We don't have coins. No one will help us." The human reached into his satchel and pulled out a few coins, only 7. He placed them in her hand. "Take these." Her eyes widened. But this is yours. How will you eat? How will you live?" He shook his head. "I can survive without coins for a while, but your mother cannot survive without medicine. If I must trade everything I have, I will." The girl's lip trembled. Why would you do this for us?" "We are strangers. Everyone else tells me to go away, but you stay." The human looked past her to the weak figure of her mother. For a moment, an old memory burned in his mind. Another child, another desperate cry in another place. He had walked away then. He had sworn never to repeat that mistake. "Because no one deserves to be forgotten," he said softly. The girl's tears spilled over. She clutched the coins as though they were treasure. But the human knew 7 coins would not be enough. The greedy merchant would demand more, and time was short. He stood, scanning the satchel slung across his shoulder. Inside were his travel supplies, a small communicator, a survival blade, rations, and a compass of human design. They were valuable, especially to traders who collected rare items. Slowly, he pulled the compass out. It gleamed faintly under the dim light, a small piece of Earth technology, precise and flawless. He had carried it for years. It was his last link to home. The girl tilted her head. "What is that?" "A guide," the human whispered, his thumb brushing its surface. "It shows me the way when I am lost. Will you sell it?" she asked carefully. His chest tightened. The compass was more than a tool. It was memory, comfort, a piece of a life he no longer had. But he saw the girl's mother, coughing, her breaths weaker each hour. He saw the fear in the child's eyes. He closed the compass and nodded. "Yes, if that's what it takes." The next morning, the marketplace was already crowded when the human and the girl arrived. Merchants shouted, buyers bargained, and guards patrolled with sharp eyes. The girl stayed close to his side, clutching her doll. They approached a trading stall where a sharp-eyed alien examined rare goods. The human placed the compass on the table. "What will you give for this?" The merchant's eyes widened. Human technology? Rare indeed. Where did you find such a thing? The human's voice was calm. It is mine. Name your price. The merchant turned it in his hands, testing its weight. I will give you 10 coins. The human's jaw tightened. It was worth far more. 20, he said firmly. The merchant smirked. 15. The human hesitated, then nodded. 15 was enough. More than enough. The merchant handed him the coins, greed in his eyes as he pocketed the compass. The human felt a sharp ache in his chest as he let go of it, as if a piece of his soul had been traded away. But when he placed the coins into the girl's hands, her face lit up with hope. Human, this is enough. We can buy the medicine. She ran to the red stall, her broken doll bouncing against her side. The fat merchant sneered as she approached. Back again? I told you, worthless girl. She slammed the coins on his counter. 15. That is enough, isn't it? The merchant's eyes widened at the pile of silver. Greed overcame his cruelty. Fine, he grumbled, reaching under the stall. He placed a small vial of glowing liquid on the counter. 1 dose. Don't come begging again. The girl grabbed the vial and ran back, holding it as if it were made of gold. Human, look. Real medicine. The human crouched to her level, his lips forming the faintest smile. Good. Now let's save your mother. They hurried back through the alleys. The girl knelt beside her mother, carefully lifting her head. She poured the glowing liquid slowly into her lips. The mother coughed, then gasped, her chest rising stronger than before, her pale skin flushed with faint color. The girl's eyes widened with joy. Mama, you're breathing better. The woman opened her eyes slowly, focusing on the human. Her voice was weak but steady. You did this? The human shook his head. Your daughter did. She never gave up. The girl buried her face against her mother's chest, sobbing with relief. The human turned away slightly, giving them their moment. But his mind was not at ease. He had sacrificed his compass, his link to home, and his coins. They had medicine now, but the dealer he had angered would not forgive. He looked at the shadows beyond the alley, his hand tightening around the hilt of his knife. They will come again, he muttered to himself. And when they do, I'll be ready. The girl's voice broke through his thoughts. Human? He turned back. She smiled at him through tears. You are not just a stranger anymore, you are family. The word struck deeper than he expected. For the first time in many years, the human felt the weight of belonging. But danger was already moving in the dark, closer than any of them realized. The narrow alleys were quiet again, but the human did not trust the silence. He had seen too many battles to know peace never lasted long. Somewhere in the shadows, danger always waited. The little alien girl sat beside her mother, gently feeding her drops of the glowing medicine. Her mother's breathing had already grown stronger, and a faint color had returned to her cheeks. The girl's face glowed with joy. Mama will live now, she whispered, hugging her broken doll. The human nodded but kept his eyes on the darkness. His hand rested on the hilt of his knife. She is better, but we are not safe yet. The girl looked up at him. Do you think the bad man will come back? He gave her a steady look. I don't think. I know. And as if summoned by his words, a sound echoed through the alley. Heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate. The girl froze, clutching her doll tighter. The mother stirred weakly, whispering, They have found us. From the shadows stepped the tall dealer, his yellow eyes burning with hate. 2 of his bruised companions walked behind him. But now more figures followed. 5 armed thugs carrying clubs, knives, and metal chains. The group filled the narrow alley like a wall of menace. The dealer spread his arms, his grin sharp and cruel. Did you really think you could humiliate me in front of the marketplace? Did you think I would forget? He pointed at the human. Now you pay. And the little rat too. The girl whimpered, pressing against her mother. Human. The human stepped forward, putting himself between them and the thugs. His knife gleamed faintly under the weak light. His voice was calm, steady. Leave now and you walk away alive. Stay and you won't. The thugs laughed loudly. One sneered, swinging his chain through the air. 1 human against 7 of us? You're dead already, the dealer snarled. Kill him. Take the girl. Let her watch her mother die, the thugs charged. The first came with a club raised high. The human sidestepped, his blade flashing. The thug screamed as the knife sliced his arm, dropping the club. The human kicked him backward into 2 more attackers, knocking them down. Another swung a chain at his head. The human ducked, the chain smashing into the wall with a loud crack. He drove his shoulder into the thug's stomach, throwing him to the ground. The fight was fast, brutal. The human moved like a storm, every strike precise, every step controlled. But there were too many. One thug grabbed him from behind, locking his arms. Another raised a knife, aiming for his chest. "Now!" the dealer shouted, his eyes wild with victory. Before the blade could strike, the girl screamed, "No!" She hurled her broken doll at the thug's face. The soft fabric hit his eyes just long enough for the human to twist free. He slammed his head back into the thug behind him, then grabbed the attacking knife and turned it aside. The girl gasped, shocked at her own bravery. The human fought harder now, fueled by her courage. He slashed at one thug's leg, then spun and struck another with the hilt of his knife. Bodies fell around him, groaning in pain, but the dealer had not moved. He stood at the far end of the alley, watching with burning eyes. Finally, he stepped forward, pulling out a long blade curved like a predator's tooth. The girl's heart pounded. She whispered to her mother, "He is stronger than the rest. What if the human cannot win?" Her mother, though weak, touched her hand. "Trust him." The human and the dealer faced each other, the alley littered with injured thugs. The dealer's grin widened. "Impressive, but let us see how long you last against me." He struck first, his curved blade slashing fast. The human blocked, sparks flying as steel clashed against steel. They circled, each waiting for the other to make a mistake. The dealer lunged, aiming for the human's side. The human twisted, the blade cutting only fabric. He countered with a slash across the dealer's arm, drawing blood. The dealer roared, attacking with fury, his strikes wild but strong. The fight dragged on, echoing through the dark alley. The girl trembled, whispering prayers to stars she could not see. At last, the dealer's rage drove him into a reckless charge. The human waited, then sidestepped and drove his knife deep into the wall beside the dealer's head, trapping him for a moment. With his other hand, he grabbed the dealer's throat, forcing him down. The dealer gasped, his yellow eyes wide with fear for the first time. The human's voice was cold. "This ends here. You will not harm them again." He threw the dealer onto the ground, his blade pressed against his chest. The dealer froze, realizing death was only a breath away. The human leaned closer, his eyes like fire. "Leave this city. If I ever see your face again, I will finish this." The dealer's face twisted with rage, but fear kept him silent. He spat to the side, then signaled his remaining thugs. Limping, bleeding, they dragged themselves away into the shadows. The alley was quiet once more. The human lowered his blade, his breathing heavy. The girl ran to him, her eyes shining with relief. "You saved us again. You always save us." He sheathed his knife slowly. "No, you saved me too." She blinked in surprise. "Me?" "You threw your doll," he said with a faint smile. "That gave me the chance." Her cheeks flushed with pride. She looked at the broken doll in her hands, its stitches torn, fabric ripped. To anyone else it was trash, but to her it was a weapon of courage, proof she was not powerless. The mother whispered weakly, her voice stronger than before. "You have protected us." "More than once." "Why, human? Why do you care for us?" The human was silent for a long moment. Then he answered, his voice low. "Because once, long ago, no one protected the people I loved. I will not let that happen again." The girl's eyes filled with tears. She pressed her doll against her chest and whispered, "Then you are our guardian now." The human looked at her, then at her mother, resting weak, but alive. His chest felt heavy, but for the first time it was not with sorrow. The fight was over, for now. But he knew shadows would always follow them. Still, he also knew something stronger now bound them together. Trust, courage, and a bond that no enemy could easily break. The alley was quiet after the storm of violence. Broken crates, fallen weapons, and bloodstains marked the ground where the thugs had been defeated. The human stood tall, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. His knife hung loosely in his hand, but his eyes scanned the shadows, ready for more. The little alien girl clung to her mother, her broken doll pressed between them. For the first time in many weeks, she felt a spark of safety, a fragile flame against the endless darkness. She looked up at the human with wide, glowing eyes. "You stayed," she whispered, her voice trembling but filled with wonder. "You fought for us." The human's face was unreadable, but his voice was steady. "No child should fight alone." The girl hugged her mother tighter. "Then you are more than a stranger now. You are family." Her words struck deep into the human's chest. For years he had walked alone, moving from planet to planet, carrying only memories of what he had lost. He had promised himself never to let anyone close again. But this girl, with her torn clothes and broken doll, had torn down the walls he had built. The mother, though weak, lifted her hand toward him. "You risked your life for us, stranger. I do not know your name, but I will never forget your face." He hesitated, then finally spoke. "My name is Kale," the girl repeated softly, as if the name itself was a treasure. "Kyle," she smiled through her tears. "Then I will never forget it either." Kyle crouched down, his eyes meeting hers. "But listen, child. The world is still dangerous. That dealer may be gone for now, but others will come. You must be ready." The girl's small hands tightened around her doll. "I am not afraid anymore, because you will be with us. Won't you?" Kale was silent. His eyes moved from her hopeful face to the fragile woman lying weakly on the ground. His heart pulled in two directions. He was a wanderer, a fighter with no home. Staying meant risking his life again and again. But leaving would mean this child would once again be alone, begging strangers for mercy in a world that had none. Finally he nodded. "Yes, I will stay. For now." The girl's smile broke into light, brighter than the neon lamps of the marketplace. She threw her arms around him, hugging tightly. Kale stiffened for a moment, unaccustomed to such closeness. But then his hand slowly rested on her shoulder. The mother's weak voice broke the silence. "You have given us more than medicine, Kale. You have given us hope." For the first time in years, Kale felt a warmth he had almost forgotten, the warmth of belonging. But peace did not last long. The next day, as the sun rose over the alien city, whispers spread through the marketplace. Stories of a human who defied the cruel dealer, stories of a beggar child saved by a stranger. Some mocked it, others admired it, but all remembered it. Kale knew the whispers were dangerous. They would attract attention, the kind that brought more enemies. Yet when he looked at the girl's face, glowing with pride each time someone whispered the human guardian, he could not regret it. That night, as stars shimmered above the broken rooftops, the girl sat beside Kale in the alley. She held her doll in her lap, its stitches torn, its body ragged. She looked at it, then at him. "Kyle, do you think my toys are useless?" she asked softly. He glanced at the doll. "No, that doll saved my life." Her eyes widened. "Really?" he nodded. "When you threw it at the thug, it gave me a chance to break free. Sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest strength." The girl smiled proudly, hugging the doll tightly. "Then I will never throw it away. It is our lucky charm." Kale leaned back against the wall, staring at the stars. "And you, child, are stronger than you know. Braver than most I've seen." She tilted her head. "Even stronger than humans?" A faint smile crossed his lips. "Perhaps stronger than me." The girl laughed softly, her first laugh in weeks. Her mother stirred nearby, her breathing steady now, her face no longer pale. The sound of her child's laughter eased her pain more than any medicine could. As the night deepened, Kyle felt something shift inside him. He had lost much in his past, but here, in the quiet company of a sick mother and a brave child, he had found something new. Not just duty, not just survival, something deeper. Belonging. The next morning, Kale stood at the edge of the marketplace with the girl at his side. She clutched her doll and looked up at him. "What will we do now?" He scanned the bustling market, the greedy merchants, the guards, and the shadows where danger always lurked. "We will survive," he said. "Together," she nodded firmly. "Together." As they walked into the crowd, the whispers followed them. Whispers of the human who stood against cruelty, of the beggar child who found a protector, and of a bond that broke the walls between species. Kale did not care about the whispers. What mattered was the hand of the little girl in his, her trust burning brighter than any star. For the first time in years, Kyle did not feel lost. He had no compass anymore, but he had something greater, a family, fragile but real. And as long as he drew breath, he would never let them be broken again.